Hello, this is Chris Eric coming to you from Glen Ellen, Illinois, with a presentation of the instructor engagement for online courses. I am actually new to online courses. This is my first 100% online program to be in. Previously, I was in a PhD program for higher education at University of South Florida. Maybe uh, 10, 10 to 20% of my classes were online. And it was done very differently. I don't think they really promoted engagement and connection as AT Still University is for for their programs. And so it was a little bit of a culture change to come to this program and to experience these things that actually promote engagement within the online courses. So now I'm going to present kind of my findings of some review of the literature for instructor engagement and connection. First things first, I think overall online students, they don't feel like the instructor has the time for online for time and support for connection and communication as compared to traditional courses. I think that's a perception that online students have with their courses because they have to travel to the classroom and they actually have face-to-face, one-on-one time sometimes with the instructor. And I think we can see that sometimes in our classes within our institutions that we have that difference. But when the students feel like they're not engaged with online courses, these students have the perception that the academic quality is actually decreased too. And then after that, they're disengaged. This happened to us in our institution for a sports medicine course that was actually online. Probably shouldn't have been online because sports medicine obviously is a very hands-on course. But there were some decisions made a few years ago that it was going to be online. Because of that, we had some very bad feedback for the online course, and obviously that's going to change. However, whatever the nature of the course, we always have to have engagement, and we'll talk about maybe some training for that for the teaching faculty members. And then I think most of us are in an institution that have graduate students, and I think the expectations from graduate students are increased because they may be more mature. They're expecting more interaction, connection, and engagement in their courses. And so we need to look out for that, especially if we are administration within graduate or professional health studies education course or institution. A lot of the student interaction engagement theory comes from the constructivism theory. Social constructivism is when we are gaining knowledge and meaning and experiences through interaction and others, and so that increases our knowledge and meaning. And we can also have it with just individual constructivism. A lot of times, if it's online or in the class, the course may not be set up, or the nature of the course may not be true that we can have interaction. So individual constructivism creates knowledge from our own experiences, and we can share that with other individuals through many examples of engagement. These include problem-based learning, case study analysis, discussion forums, group projects, research papers, and current events and assignments. And so these activities above they increase the connection and engagement within the instructor. And so not only are they actually gaining knowledge, and the purpose of that is to gain meaning and knowledge within the student itself, but when we use these things, they also have the possibility of increasing connection and engagement, what needs to happen is we need to have meaningful engagement and connection from the instructor for that really to happen. And so what increases instructor engagement? And then I put in parentheses connection, because we can have instructor engagement, we can have communication, we can have activity from the instructor. But if the instructor is not using these functions to actually producing a connection with the students, then it's really a moot point that we're having. But the ones that I'm going to talk about today are other avenues of communication. That's kind of a general, very vague category there, but we'll talk about a couple of examples of that. Podcasts, different examples of podcasts that we have and what that could do to increase the engagement of the student or the attention of the student, increasing the engagement of the instructor. And then feedback. What kind of feedback should the instructor give, and what's the aim for that, especially with online courses or also classroom courses too. The information is good for that venue too. So what do I mean by other avenues of communication? Obviously, there's more examples than this, but the two that I picked out is really email, especially for online courses. Quick email responses is very important that are specific to the actual content of the communication, but also specific progress regarding the courses. And so we don't want just, hey, this was your grade, this is an email with your grade, but what kind of things, what kind of progress are we making, not only towards the end of the course, but also towards the end of the, if there's a thesis or a dissertation, especially with graduate courses. Second one is Skype, or I added Google Hangouts. So Skype was actually mentioned within the reference that you see at the bottom, but I added Google Hangouts. This is very good, especially for both online and for classroom traditional classes. If for scheduled office hours, especially if the individual cannot make it into the campus, or if it's an online-based course, or if the instructor sees that additional meetings need to be created, if there's a quiz or if there's any kind of other assessment, and it seems like, hey, maybe the students are just not getting this concept, we need to meet. And so instructor says, hey, can we meet next week? We're just not getting this one concept. And so that's where maybe Skype or another effective communication, where it may be a little bit more face-to-face, is actually more effective. And then seeing the instructor really increase the connection. So one thing that is special about Skype or Google Hangouts is that, versus email, is really you're seeing the person face-to-face. And so that seemed to really increase the connection between the instructor and the student. Maybe a little bit with online chat, we can have that, but if individuals can see themselves face to face, it seems to help with connection. Facial expressions may be a reason for that also. Next one is podcasts. This is something that I think is mentioned in a few references. I just listed one here, but the weekly, more personable podcast, if it's audio, but again, video, visual podcast may be a little bit better, because now we're actually seeing the face of the instructor, and now we may see not only the obviously audio feelings, but maybe the facial cues, and we can see feelings that way also, and hear the thoughts of the instructor. Just by reading it, we're not really, obviously we're reading the thoughts of the instructor, but we're getting more information by actually seeing it on video, or at least in audio. And then with podcasts that are video, excuse me, they're appeared to be more of a live class. Again, that face-to-face aspect of that. And then consider taping a live classroom. Maybe the faculty member is doing a live classroom at the same time, and we could record that somehow, do a lecture capture or discussion capture. And that could be just add to some of the resources of the class too. And that could serve as a podcast of sorts. Last one is feedback. And again, obviously this is well done by AT Still by giving feedback, again, not only the grades or the rubric scores, but also feedback that is incremental with assignments. One assignment is really adding on to another, I'm finding, but also we're actually going towards an end product or end product of our thesis or our dissertation. And that's actually within the literature in several different places. And also professionally, I mean, we could always have the discussion and feedback with our discussion forums, and we do, on how this is going to be very effective or maybe ineffective in our profession as maybe higher education administrators too. And then timely and quality and positive, those are things that were listed in the study by Joyner, Fuller, Holtzwise, Henderson, and Young. I got that right. That was the most important thing. Timely, quality, and positive. Again, we're going to always have some little bit of negative feedback saying, hey, we need to improve with this. That's still constructive, but also I think especially online instructors where they're not face-to-face, they need to pick out, hey, this was really solid. You got this exactly. And so it gives them examples of what the student may have done, just spot on too also. So this is kind of more of a personal opinion thing. What makes engagement effective? Well, we saw that with it wasn't my course, but within my institution, we had a sports medicine course that did very badly. The instructor of that course did not have any kind of professional development. And so one thing that we could do is have in-service professional development for those faculty members that are teaching online courses to increase the communication and engagement and connection between them and the students, and ways that they can do that, and structured ways that the course and institutions can set up, and obviously follow up with the instructors by the program director, which is myself, to make sure that that's actually getting done, hopefully every few weeks, especially when the courses are actually getting started. And then also student input. Again, another thing that AT Still does is that midterm kind of feedback to make sure that everything is going well. As much as we can do feedback from the students of that course is going to be great, and things that we need to improve either for that term or for other terms following. So these are my references here, and I will send a document with these references and a link to the video if I could. Okay. Hope everything's going well, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.